Hey everybody, welcome to the A Modern America podcast. I'm your host Ethan Braulio, and here with me today I have James Mason, someone who will hopefully be returning to the show many times. James, why don't you say hi?
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. Today our topic will be on the immigration issues that have been going on, a lot of the issues with the children getting separated from their families, and just illegal immigration as a whole. We can start with talking about the separation from kids and families. I think most people would agree that this is kind of a heinous act. Obviously, you don't want to take innocent kids away from their parents who are just trying to make a better life for themselves. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, that's definitely that's what got us in the news in the first place, where finally all the images and stories about families being separated from children and ICE losing track of a couple thousand children since they've started this, and why they're doing it, whose idea it was to start this in the first place. And I think that's what really brought it to attention, but I don't think that's the whole story. Yeah, I mean, definitely everybody's against it, but like it's one of those weird things where it's like, how did this get started, and how do we stop it, and what's the alternative?
Well, I think if you want to look at more of the origin of what is happening, Trump came out with a executive order back, I think around January, this past January, enabling the officers at the border to take the kids away, and this allows them to enable on the acts. There were some laws against it before with Obama's administration, but now Trump is coming out and saying, oh, I want to fix this, I want to change this. What he's really trying to do, I think, is use it for leverage to get a wall built. He wants to try to trade this separation from happening in order to build a wall. And that's what, because if you look at the Trump administration, Sarah Huckabee Sanders is saying, oh, we don't want to have to do this. Stephen Miller is saying something different. He's like, oh, I take great joy in seeing our administration separate this. Then Trump's saying it's all the Democrats' fault and he wants to fix it. It's a big separation.
No, yeah, and I mean, well, was this going on during the Obama administration, or did we just not hear about this until now, or is this, he cracked down and made it worse?
Well, I think he cracked down and made it worse. I think it was already in the law, but Trump, with his executive order, made it a lot easier for the agents. I think it's ICE agents to go in and
Immigration Customs Enforcement,
to go in there and actually do so. And the fact that it's happening in a lot larger numbers, and people finally got video evidence of it happening. There was evidence of women and their kids being detained during the Obama administration, but they weren't being separated. They were being kept together.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody, or not everybody, but being detained at the border isn't uncommon. That's been going on forever.
Yeah, and they're trying to correlate that. And the Republicans, you look at on Twitter or like on Fox News, I'm sure they're saying, "Oh, look, it's just as bad that they're doing this, even though they're still at least together. Like at least you're detained with your family instead of saying, oh, there goes mom and dad off, they'll never see them again."
Yeah, no, it's well, if this was his idea to make this as a way to get support behind the border wall, I think it's blown up terribly in his face, because I think this will make people against a border wall and immigration, because this makes this, I mean, if this is their immigration policy, it makes them just look terrible and like monsters.
Yeah, I agree. So I think the problem is, I think a lot of his supporters to this point now, no matter what he says, if he flips and ends up saying, yeah, he signs another executive order to get rid of it, a lot of his supporters don't care about the backstory. Like the end result, all that matters, the ends justify the means.
Well, no, yeah, I mean, there is that core, like, 30% of Trump supporters who it doesn't matter what he does or what he says, he can do no wrong, and it's always someone else's fault, not his.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it seems like no matter what he does, he'll never be able to alienate that group. So no matter what he does at the border, like, even if he flips and gets rid of it and does what everybody wants, they're going to support him and say he did the right thing and pretend like it wasn't him that did the wrong thing to begin with.
Oh, of course.
No, they'll blame someone else for doing the wrong thing and that he did all good. And yeah, so they'll never get alienated by it. They'll never hate him.
So I think the issue ends up becoming, what do we do to change this? Sure, you can say, let's just keep the families together, but I think that's a good place to start. That should be an easy compromise to start there from that point. Moving on with actual legal immigration, though, you have a lot of issues. Should we build a wall? I think a lot of people would say that doesn't make financial sense. It just doesn't make
it doesn't make sense.
Doesn't work.
Well, it doesn't make financial sense, but it's also not going to be effective, because 40% of immigrants come from airlines or through flight travel, so they're going to come in over it anyway. Plus, I mean, you can't build a wall high enough that a ladder's not going to get over it. You're going to slow them down. You're not going to stop them.
And there's other ways for immigrants to get into the country as well.
By boats. Just go to the Mexican coast and sail around into California.
Or a lot of them come over here on a legal vacation and they just overstay. Or they get a work visa and they just overstay. A lot of them aren't running across the border or carrying armfuls of cocaine and drugs.
No, they're not playing capture the flag between U.S. and Mexico. Yeah, it's not, a border wall is not going to work, and it's going to cost a ton of money to be ineffective. So I don't know how he's trying to drum up support for this, and if this was his way, like, it's not working, and it's not gonna work.
It's kind of inhumane to basically make these kids have a terrible life just because their parents are trying to get them out of a terrible country. No offense to Mexico, but there are definitely a lot of bad areas over there.
There's bad areas. They're not fleeing because it's a great place to live, or at least where they're living is a great place. But
They want a better place to live.
so, yeah, I mean, my question is, what's the alternative? Because, yeah, obviously you can't come here and live illegally, but there's got to be somewhere where they can cross the border and live here without being detained and separated from their family. And so, yeah, the question is, what's the alternative?
Yeah, we can't just go and let millions and millions of people into the country. We're going to get overpopulated, and obviously the United States is still a much better place to live than most places in the world, if not all.
USA.
USA, there we go. We got the blind patriotism here.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, if you can't let every single person in. You definitely have to do some kind of background search on these people. You have to vet them. But the process takes years. And when you're living in these countries or over in the Middle East and you have a terrible life where your life is endangered, you're going to do whatever it takes for your family to come over here. It's not going to be here, let's just wait a few years. You know, I know you're hearing gunshots every night and seeing your friends and family die. Just wait a few years for us to get this processed.
No, yeah, there should be a vetting process, and that's the problem, too, because I think it should be maybe not as thorough as it is now, but it should be thorough because you don't want... Yeah, I mean, you don't... I hate to say, like, terrorists and the bad people in, but that's what it comes down to. And really, you know, if they relax it, all we need is one person to immigrate here and, you know, shoot a bunch of people to throw everything we've done about immigration policy onto the table. Because if you get one bad guy out there, then everybody on the right wing who was enforcing anti-immigration, this just gives them fuel for the fire.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, there's no easy compromise, or else it would already be done. I don't really have a solution for it. Like,
no, I don't think there is a solution. It sucks because there should be one. Like this shouldn't be happening, but I don't know what else should be done, what else could be done.
Yeah, I know that there's been talk about more of a lottery-based system to make it easier for people who have merits. If they have like a college degree from another country, or if they took like a test and they scored well on that, or they showed skill like in a manual labor field, to give them an easier chance of getting in. And I agree with that to an extent, but I don't think that a lot of people over there, they're not given the chances to do these kind of things, or to showcase those skills.
No,
like a lot of women, particularly in the Middle East, they don't get a chance to do any of this.
Oh God, especially no.
And yeah, they're never going to pass these lottery systems. It's not really fair to them just because they weren't given a chance to show that they're educated or smart.
Well, the reason they're coming here is to be educated and to get a better life. So it creates a catch-22 thing where you can't be let in if you're not educated, but that's the exact reason why they're fleeing, is because they're prosecuted and not given education. I don't know really what to say beyond that. Aside from we brought up an issue with no solution to discuss.
Well, we're just like everybody else at that point then, just kind of repeating the obvious. At least we're not, being pushed too far to one side or the other. We recognize that both sides have issues. I do think that we should increase the amount of immigrants who are allowed to come in here. I think that would definitely... I think we aren't overpopularized to the point where, like, we have an issue with it. We're not like China where we have to limit our people to only having, a kid or two?
I think that it's something like that, yeah.
Like, we're obviously not at that point yet, and I think... We've always been a country of immigration. I think that we shouldn't stray from that. We don't need to be only letting in 20 immigrants a year
from Norway.
Yeah, from Norway. No, I think it helps to diversify a bit too. Obviously.
No, it certainly helps. I'm not anti-immigration, but I do. There definitely needs to be some laws about it. But to the extent of what the law is and what it covers is a very big gray area that I don't know a solution to.
No, I guess there really isn't much of a definitive answer you could say either way. I do think that, as long as you come with balance, you're not letting everybody in. Obviously, there's always going to be people who are going to get hurt from this. There always have been people who have been hurt from this. And
there's no solution that'll satisfy everyone, so anybody's going to get hurt. But I think, so then you got to look for what solution's going to hurt the least amount of people and be most beneficial to as many people. Mm-hmm. And I don't think separating families at the border is that solution.
You could definitely at least start there.
Yeah, no, I think that definitely needs to be the start, that if they're going to... Because they're definitely going to arrest people at the border. They should at least arrest them as a family. They shouldn't separate them. Because what are they doing with the kids when they...
They've been building camps. And then someone on Fox News went and said, they're like summer camps. I don't think that's what that's going to be like at all.
No,
it's a throwback to the Japanese internment camps back in...
if you want to use the polite example of what human race has done when they put people in camps, the Japanese internments in the U.S. was the good version of internment camps.
Well, I think that's better than the Nazi comparisons.
Yes,
at least we're not killing people by the millions.
I'd be hesitant to bring up the Nazi comparisons in any situation. But no, it's the exact same thing we did, and we all know how history looked upon that. Mm-hmm. But I mean, what are they? They're just putting kids in camps, and then what? They're not reassigning them to new families. They're not doing anything with them. They're just... I mean, really, this policy doesn't have any benefits to it, and all it does is separate families and cause a whole lot of heartbreak and disaster.
And anger among United States citizens.
Yeah, so I mean... at least if you're going to arrest them as a whole, because it's just as productive and you're not separating kids from parents.
Well, I really do think it's that he wants to use it as leverage. And then he's saying, why don't the Democrats fix this? He's tweeted this like every day for the past like 4 or 5 days. He's literally trying to get the Democrats to basically say, okay, we're willing to pay for a wall or at least increase border security, when it's really not going to pay off in the long run. He promised that to the voters, though. Half of his campaign was, we're going to build a wall, we're going to keep out the bad hombres out of the country.
That was his tagline, yeah. So.
Oh, yeah. And of course, he wants to deliver on that. I mean, I don't think people are going to care if he never ends up building the wall, because he can still say, we've cut illegal immigration down by over half. So he can still at least say that. So I don't think he really needs a wall. If I was his political advisor right now, I'd be like, forget the wall, mention that stat line. We've cut down illegal immigration by over half in literally a year and a half. And then just leave it at that. People will be very happy with what he's done there.
Well, I mean, even if he... I mean, I doubt they're ever going to get the funding to build the wall, because it's just, like, physically
illogical.
impossible Well, yeah, it's physically impossible to get that kind of a job done. But, yeah, so at the end of 4 years, if he doesn't win the election and they use that during campaigns as like, oh, well, remember how he promised you a wall and he didn't get it, all he's going to do is say, well, it's the Democrats' fault. And that 30% of his supporters is all going to believe him. It doesn't matter what evidence they have against him. Like, yeah, it's illogical. Republicans voted against you. You had the power to do it and couldn't.
They don't care.
No, it's not going to make sense. Or they're not going to care. They're going to blame Obama for it. They're going to blame the Democrats for it. He can't do any wrong.
Oh, of course not. No, he's getting 30% in 2020 at least, if not more.
No, yeah. So yeah, he wants to use this as leverage and like, oh, well, it's almost like that thing where it's like they say to kids, if you want a dog, ask your parents for a horse. Where he's like, oh, well, if you don't want to arresting parents and or separating kids from them, then we should build a wall because that's less damaging.
That's the whole art of the deal. I never read the book, but I've heard people mention several times.
Sure, you haven't. Okay, how come you're holding a copy of it right now, Ethan?
All right, listen, I didn't want to do picture or like actual video for this, but I wish we did now so I could prove that I am not holding the art of the deal.
So, yeah, he's a liar.
But,
a libertarian jerk.
Please, I am far from a libertarian. That's a discussion for another time.
Something a libertarian would say. So anyway, what about the art of the deal?
The idea that he would over-ask for a lot of things, and people would say, oh, that's outrageous, and then they would cut a deal that's back towards the middle, but it would actually end up being what Donald wanted in the first place. Like if he wanted $100 million for this tower, he would only offer $800 million, and then the person would be like, "Oh, that's offensive. I'm going to offer you'd pay $100 million instead." And Donald was always willing to pay for $100 million, but he may not have gotten that actual deal if he started at $100 million. The guy might have said, "Oh no, I want $120 million."
Well, it's the same thing with like auctions or bidding, like on eBay for the best offer things. You always cut their offer in half, and then you meet them in the middle. Mm-hmm. I just did that the other day where I was buying something, they were asking $6 and I offered $3.
Oh, look at you. Maybe you've read the art of the deal if you're using his tactics.
Yeah, I saved $2. They came back at $4. Like, oh, you cheap jerk. But yeah, so that's how negotiating works, and he's doing the same thing here where he's like, all right, what's the most appalling thing I can do? I don't know if that was his actual intent, but it kind of looks that way, that they were like, what's the most appalling thing we can do so that if we offer something that's equally as stupid but not as appalling, people will go for it.
Yeah, I don't see how you justify it any other way. You can't say, oh, he's doing this just because. Maybe it's funny to him. I don't think that's the case. But
I don't think he has that big of a sense of humor to just do a policy that amuses him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he cares enough. I think a lot of his policy isn't really done through him. I think it's done through his administration. Stephen Miller, Steve Bannon, back when he was in it, definitely had a big hand in the first 100 days. Then he obviously got eventually wrestled away from him when it was Steve Bannon's the true president. That kind of got him knocked out of the circle. But I'm not sure. Obviously, we don't know who was the real one behind this. It should get blamed on him. He is the president. He has final say.
Well, yeah, I mean, he picked the guys who are under him. So even if you blame it on the guys under him, you still hired the guy and approved of him. So.
Well, no, he said, "Oh, I want this done," and Trump said, "Okay, here, show me sign it. Show the picture to the whole crowd." He loves that part of it, you know.
Yeah, that's the glamorous part of it.
Yeah, of course. I think we covered pretty much all of it. As little of a solution as we gave.
No, yeah, nothing like listening to two guys in a basement rambling about something we don't really know much about. I think we did good.
I don't know how much else there really is about it. What else is there to know?
No, there's nothing. I mean, no, there's no solution to it, and there's nothing we can really be said. So
that's the message from this. Everyone loses on illegal immigration. It's just a big wash.
We don't know what we're talking about. There's no solution to this mess, and everybody's gonna get screwed.
Well, I think somebody ends up not getting screwed. It's just figuring out who that's gonna be, whether it's the illegal immigrants or the people who want them out of the country. Right, so it's one of those two groups.
A note of hope to end on.
Yeah, that's what you guys tune in for here, is this terrible nihilistic commentary, but
with a little bit of something sweet at the end.
You
grasp
think
for
so?
hope. Yeah, we have some hope. Maybe someone will get something out of it.
Maybe in 2020. I'm not sure about that though.
I don't know. What are the who are the Democrats going to throw at him in 2020? It's not that he's
Joe Biden.
Yeah, I mean,
I want Elizabeth Warren to run, but she said last year that she was happy in the Senate, so I don't think she's going to end up running. I think if she should have ran in 2016, I think she would have won. She would have been less hated than Hillary. They couldn't throw the whole corrupt aspect at her, at least as much.
they would have found something to throw at her. I mean,
They'll
find
bad.
something to throw at any politician, but
Mm-hmm.
no, I mean, yeah. So
It's not 30 years of.
Elizabeth Warren isn't going to run. Bernie might run, but I don't think anybody wants to vote for a 78-year-old man.
Well, that's the issue with Joe Biden, but I think Trump, he'll be, 74 at that point, and he does not have a healthy lifestyle.
73, I think, yeah. No, but I mean, he's already president, so...
That's true. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to run against him. There's been minor talk of Kasich. John Kasich? Yeah, there's been talk of him running a primary.
It was him and another senator who was a Democrat. Weren't they going to do a double bill to try and get people from both sides of the aisle to vote? I thought I read
On what? On
about
illegal immigration or something else?
No, just for the presidency. Like, he was going to run for president, and then his VP choice was going to be a Democrat.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, I forget who it was, but that was...
that was the idea, was so that they can get people who are... Democrats who are alienated from their party and the Republicans who are alienated to, like, find common ground and do that.
I think that would just end up hurting one of the parties, and the other party who doesn't get hurt as much would end up winning. I don't think that would have a realistic chance. The problem is, you had these two hated candidates, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. You might have liked one of them, but a lot of people did not like either one. It was more so than usual, picking the lesser of two evils. And the third, like the Libertarian and the Green Party.
Oh yes, tell us about the Libertarian Party and all their glory, Ethan.
Oh, trust me, I was not very happy with Gary Johnson's attempt at the presidency. But you see, that was the year for them to at least hit the 5% mark, so they can get a guaranteed spot at elections or at the debates, and they can get more funding. They would get federal funding if they hit a certain benchmark percent, and they didn't reach it. If they didn't reach it in 2016, they're never going to reach it, in my opinion.
They might, and again, it was the same thing where it's, yeah, they had the opportunity because the two main candidates were so disliked and hated, so instead they picked candidates that were just equally as disliked and hated, like Jill Stein and Gary Johnson were just weird,
anti-vaxxers and not even a true libertarian, here.
Oh, tell us what a true libertarian is, Ethan.
People who think they're very logical, but there's actually a lot of flaws in their ideas and beliefs.
It's just a more hands-off version of republicanism.
Mm-hmm.
See, yeah, and I think that's because at this point, I do think Trump will actually win a re-election because
economy's strong.
Well, it has nothing to do with that or what he's done in office because he's done nothing, and what he has got done is bad. But the problem is, like, he needs someone to lose against, and there's right now no one even stepping up that could possibly beat him.
It's still a little early. It's not even the midterm elections at this point. I think after that, if you still see this general lack of I don't want to go against him, that's when it's going to start looking bad. I think you wait until after the midterm elections, and then that's when you start, because you don't want to take that away from like people in the midterm elections. You want to make sure the Democrats need to at least win back the House. They can't really win back the Senate. It's going to look very hard to at least get like a minor majority. But the House, they need to win the House back, because that'll at least they'll be able to stop Trump from passing any more legislation at that point.
I think right now they're expected to win back the House, aren't they? I thought there's a lot of Democratic support just because of how much the Republicans haven't gotten done.
Oh, definitely. The problem is the polls vary a lot. At one point, like a few months ago, they were up by about 10% on a generic ballot. It went down to about 4 or 5%. Now it's back up to about 7 on some of the latest polls. 538, that's a pretty good statistical site I look at a lot. They have they pull together all the polls, and they say, oh, this poll usually is like Rasmussen's a very Republican leading poll. They'll adjust their numbers based on what other people are saying and the fact that they're also Republican biased, and they kind of create a generic
trend.
Yeah, trend line, and it's very accurate. And it's predicted a lot of the past elections. They were the only ones who gave Donald Trump a decent chance. They had him at like a 33% chance instead of like the 2 or 3% chance.
Well, I was going to say there was like six. Because at this point, I don't really trust the numbers only because of the election, but I want to say there was 6 major sources that were predicting who would win the election, and 5 of them said Hillary. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the polls can.
Well, the problem is she basically lost the election because she lost 3 or 4 states by a combined 100,000 votes. If those 4 states had went her way, and it only needed 100,000 votes between 4 states, she would have won the election, and it would have looked a lot.
Won, depending on which count you go by, but yeah.
That's a discussion for another time again. But...
No, yeah, we should talk about that sometime about the Electoral College.
Oh, I would just get mad, but yeah, we definitely should.
It'll make for a good discussion.
All right, that sounds good then. Anything else you want to talk about on midterm elections or future elections or on illegal immigration? I guess this is like more of a 2-topic video. We were originally
whatever. All right, so you get more bang out of your buck since we missed a week or something. No, I think we milk those topics for all we can, unless you got something you want to add.
I think it's a pretty good stopping point. Thanks for coming on the show, James. Hope to have you on again.
Thanks for having me, Ethan.
Yep. Thanks for listening in today. Hope to see you guys in the next discussion. Looking forward to seeing you.